First of all, introduce my panel of experts, beginning from my immediate left, where we have Engineer Crispus Wathimba, who is a governance and also a leadership expert. Karibu sana, Engineer.
Thank you so much, Roy.
And just next to him, we have one of the 10 MPs who are elected on an independent ticket. He is the MP for Masinga, Honorable Joshua Mbithi. Karibu sana, Mheshimiwa.
Thank you very much.
First things first.
But the independents are 12.
Oh, they are 12.
Yeah.
All right, they are 12. Thanks for that correction.
Don't sack too.
All right. But of course, you're allied to the government, right?
Yes.
All right. Being from one of the regions that has been touted as one of the strongholds of Azimio, that is the Ukambani region, do you support the maandamanos that have been called by, among others, one of the political kingpins in Ukambani, Mheshimiwa Kalonzo Musyoka?
First of all, I can say that I don't support. And I have been vocal on telling our people not to support the maandamano, because that is not a good idea. Because the elections are over. The Supreme Court pronounced itself. The IBC pronounced itself. What else is left apart from that maandamano, which we don't know the direction it is taking? So my take was that the people of Masinga constituency and the lower eastern, we should not be part of this maandamano, because we have a lot of problems which we can solve by dialogue rather than going to the streets. So I don't support.
All right. Engineer, you are also a businessman, and I'm quite sure you're one of the many Kenyans who are affected by that, because at the end of the day, there are even staff who are not able to go to work, and some business had to close. And looking at what the Deputy President said, 2 billion shillings were lost yesterday, and Azimio, they're talking about every Monday. This is not good for even the optics, not good for investors as well. I would like to pick your mind on that.
Well, one thing we need to appreciate is that we went through a very tense general election 6 months ago. And 6 months later, to start having maandamano or people having mass action, I think it's too early for any administration to have sorted out anything. Given that the challenges that we are trying to address are some of them historical in nature, some of them are some are natural, especially things to do with the drought, and others are issues that can be discussed. Leaders can come together and have a discussion, because we elected these leaders to represent us, meaning when they represent us, they should be able to use the forums that are there. For example, the Senate, the National Assembly, the County Assembly, the other organs of government where people are supposed to interact, both in the opposition and the government, to have a discussion on issues that are affecting the common mwananchi and the country at large. So I think we are not going to say the people of the opposition should not demonstrate. They have the right to do that. But is it the right time? Are they, in their demonstration, are they championing for those issues? Because from the experience of yesterday, we didn't see much of those issues coming out. It was more about people carrying sufurias and rungus, others hawking stones, others being paid to go to cause protest, others being violent, others being naked on the road. You know, there was a lot of drama, but that did not reflect the issues at hand. So I think picketing is important at any point that the people feel that they are not, their issues are not being addressed. But how you do it is important that we do it peacefully, and at what time. This time is too early. This government is only 6 months old. It does not have its own budget that it has formed. There are issues of lack of money in the economy. We have seen our foreign currency reserves are down. We are aware that there are people holding dollars and not willing to sell to the Kenyan government. People who you can call economic saboteurs, who don't want his government to do very well. There are people who are held bent on protecting their economic and commercial interests at the expense of other Kenyans. So there are certain things that are not being said that for those who understand how politics is can know very well. This is not about the common mwananchi. It is all about a few individuals who control key economic stakes in this country that want to continue controlling.
Yeah. Mheshimiwa, Engineer is talking about, yes, indeed, the Kenyans have a right to picket and also to demonstrate, but it's not the right time. Yesterday, from what you saw, this is something that is enshrined in the Constitution, the right to demonstrate, to picket, and to have peaceful demonstrations. Do you believe that the rights of Kenyans who are doing that were protected by the police yesterday?
I must say that these are only words that are spoken, that peaceful demonstrations. There can never be peaceful demonstrations for people that are jobless, first of all. And if you could see the composition of the demonstrators, these are young people who has no office to go. The majority of them has no business to do. They are just idle. And also they are for hire. Once you hire them, the way we saw that they were being given 500 shillings to enter matatu from Kibera to go to the streets, you see that person, you are giving him the power to do anything. And it is also very difficult for the police to be able to protect them while they are throwing the stones at the police. So the thing is, if peaceful demonstration, they could have been carrying some tree leaves as a sign of peace, then they can be protected. But how do you protect somebody who is ready to fight you? I saw some policemen in Juja Road. They were chased until one of them had to climb through a building wall and run away. And the others were being chased until they ran through a street and even one missed the entrance. And the boys were after his blood. So what I'm trying to say is that, yes, it is good to protect, but you protect a person that is harmless. But somebody who wants to harm you, you cannot be able to guarantee the protection, because you are also protecting yourself. So the peaceful demonstration are only words that are spoken, but that is not the truth. It can never be, especially in this country. Other countries, it can be practical, but Kenya is very difficult to have peaceful demonstrations.
It's a good thing you've mentioned other countries, because we saw some demonstration also in Tunisia, in South Africa, and also in Nigeria.
Yes.
How the police and the government handled the situation yesterday? Of course, they had running battles with the demonstrators, and they didn't want them to access the central business district. As a legislator, are you comfortable on how the government handled the situation yesterday?
You see, there was no alternative. There was no alternative because they were marching to State House. How do you march to an institution that has been installed there by law? And the Kenyans are the ones who voted to install the president there. And now marching to State House, what does it mean? It means you are doing a coup. So how do you leave people to march to State House without protecting that institution? So the police had to do their job. Furthermore, the police commander, Nairobi base commander, said that they were not licensed. So there was no need to have a demonstration, first of all, because it was outlawed. So that was the best way to control the demonstrations they did not beat them. They only a few were gained, but we didn't see a lot of people being beaten the way last times the people were being beaten by the police. But this time the police were civilized. In fact, they were only throwing tear gas and water. We didn't see live bullets. I did not see myself. Maybe others saw, but I did not see.
Right.
So I can say that the police did an excellent job.
Yes. Engineer, looking at Azimio demonstrations, one of the issues or one of the key issues is electoral reforms. And they're talking about they are not quite comfortable on how the selection panel was arrived at, talking about we cannot have the selection panel being handpicked. The electoral reforms have already started. The president has they have already even been sworn in. And this is one of the things that Azimio is keen on. They want electoral reforms. Is it the right time? Because the process, the constitutional process has already started, but they want it changed. How do we reconcile the two?
You know, historically, a lot of times we have gone to an elections when we are ill-prepared, in the sense that you find we have a few commissioners, the remaining ones are sworn in months into the elections. When it comes to arranging the logistics, it becomes an event where we are rushing. We ended up even in one time having a government-to-government procurement of some of the items, something that does not give the sanctity that is required in an independent electoral process. And I think for this administration, they have made it very clear at the onset that they want to have independent institutions. Independence means that they are able to govern themselves independently. They have to have the resources on time. They have to have their governance structures working very well, and therefore it was important for them to go to Parliament and come up with laws that will make sure that the process of coming up with commissioners start at the early stage. It is free from influence from either government or the opposition. And they did that in Parliament. There was a law that was passed, which it was assented by the president. And that is what is being followed. So for the opposition to come and say that they want to stop a process which is already in law, I think that is a constitutional crisis they are trying to create. They are trying to force the president hand into something that is impossible. And I think Azimio needs to start respecting the law. For example, in yesterday's protest, they were declared illegal. I think they should have gone to court to contest that, then plan another day, because there are many Mondays that we can hold protests. If you are told your protest day is illegal, it doesn't stop you from going to court to challenge that ban by the police, and you get another day. But they were very clear that they had prepared to cause mayhem across the country. You can see in the media the images on our newspapers and on our TVs, and even international media has portrayed Kenya as a very unsafe place to be today. Yet it was just a few pockets within Nairobi and Kisumu that were violated. But the whole country looks very bad right now. When we are trying to look for investors to come and invest in our country, we are having challenges of food, we are having challenges of foreign currency, and yet you want to solve those problems, you want the government to solve those problems, yet you are creating an environment where it is so difficult for that government to do it. So for me, I just feel like these protests were more about entrenching the sabotage that this government is facing.
Mheshimiwa, I would also want you to weigh in on the electoral reforms, because that is one of the key things that is making Azimio resort to moving to the streets. And also, there have been calls for Azimio to engage its leaders in Parliament in regards to the electoral reforms. And do you believe that the president should aggressively involve the opposition, so that maybe we could stop this, because we can avert this? Every Monday, if at all their threat stands, is that we will be having polarized economy. If anything is to go by what the Deputy President yesterday said about 2 billion, then we have a risk of running into a loss of 2 billion shillings every Monday. That is around 8 billion in a month. I'd like you to weigh in on that.
First of all, as the engineer said, that we passed the law for the selection of the IBC commissioners. And it was a big debate in Parliament. And there is a criteria on who to be selected, how many religious people, how many people from the Parliamentary Service Commission, how many people are from parties and what have you. And that is the law we are following. There is nothing wrong with whatever the panel of selecting the IBC is doing, and is already installed and commissioned to continue doing the work. Now, for us to be able to go back again, to be able to undo that what we did and is already signed by the president, it's a tall order. Number two, the opposition tries all the means to discredit the government and anything that is good which is being done. And but this time, they have gotten it wrong, because we are trying to do what is right. You remember a long time ago, the political parties used to pick people of their own choice to be commissioners in the IBC. But now we have passed a law that that is being followed. How many people are to be put there by which body? If it is the political party, how many people? If it is the religious people, how many people? Then that is what we are following. And there is nothing wrong with that. And because it was passed by Parliament, and the Parliament is entrusted by the people that elected them to sit there, we carry the mandate of the people. We have been given the power, we have been sworn in to uphold by the law. So that one will be a tall order, the way I know.
And also,
this is not the time that you used to chase the commission and sack them by maandamano. This is a different regime, which is governed by the rule of law. So that is one. Number two, you have asked the question whether the 2 billion that is being lost every Monday will continue to be lost in that manner, and we say we are reviving the economy. What we are doing, we are not reviving the economy. The wish of the opposition is to destroy the economy, because yesterday the business community did not open. Nairobi was not open, and so nobody made any coin, nobody sold anything, nobody imported anything, nobody transacted in a bank to send money abroad for importation. So all business was stopped. So we need to come to our senses and say, is this the right thing that we are doing as Kenyans? And even the leaders that are trying to do that before the eyes of God, are they doing the right thing? The religious people have tried to say, let's do dialogue. It's very important to do dialogue. Because in litigation, nobody wins. You are all losers.
Should now the president be the bigger brother and reach out?
It is very important for him to reach out. And being the one who is in charge of this country, there is no harm in calling the opposition and say, brothers, the way they normally call themselves. When they meet, they say, brother, brother Raila, brother Kalonzo, brother Ruto. That's the name they use. What is a brother? A brother is somebody you can reach out to if there is a problem and you sort it out. So that is the way out. The way out is to sit down and find out what is all this we are doing as an opposition. How is it benefiting the people that we represent as an opposition? How is it benefiting the people that are represented by the government? And if it is not right, how can we stop it? Okay? So, that is my take.
Engineer, still on the same, and even the religious leaders have talked about maybe the president should reach out. They have also urged the leader of opposition, Raila Odinga, also to reach out so that they can dialogue and maybe we can stop all this. But looking at their political stance in the last couple of days, it's like nobody wants to cede ground. Raila Odinga says, no, it's time for discussion, it's far much gone. The president says, no, we won't allow anarchy, and he categorically said that we will not have the Nusu Mkate government. So more or less it's like each one is holding their cards close to their chest and they do not want to budge. Where does that lead us to?
I think the challenge we are having is that if you look at the issues Azimio has tabled as the demands that need to be addressed, one of them is the issue of IBC commissioners.
Yes.
And as we have clearly put it out here, the law is very clear that the selection panel is in place. They have the mandate to go and find recruit commissioners. The president has no way of stopping a process of law that is continuing. And if there's anyone who feels that law is not right, they can go to court. We have many channels where you can go to court, stop the selection panels from doing the work it's doing, and the court can hear this. So I think that is what he's wondering. If I'm going to sit down with these men on these issues of IEBC, there's nothing we can do as a government, because this is an independent institution that we must allow to exercise its independence. When it comes to the economic issues of food and all that, the government, obviously, if you look at the efforts that have been made by the Minister of Agriculture going around Africa, the Minister of Trade trying to revive the Kenya National Trade Corporation, the sentiment, the efforts being, you can see the Deputy President going to distribute fertilizer. There are a lot of efforts that are being made to address the issue of food. But these are things that will require time. So therefore, the government is wondering, if we don't give us time for the efforts we are putting to bear fruits, then what else can we discuss? The issue of Forex and the lack of dollars in the economy. The Kenya Bankers Association CEO has been quoted saying that there are enough dollars in this country, but those dollars belong to depositors. The government cannot access those dollars to be able to buy, import fuel and all those things. So therefore the government has opted to go and have a government-to-government discussion with the oil exporters and others who, from where we import stuff, so that we don't have to use dollars. So those are other avenues the government is trying to go around to alleviate the issue of the weakening of the Kenya shilling. So government is trying one way or another. What we are lacking here is time. But by now going to demonstrate, what are you doing as an opposition? You are frustrating the efforts of the administration in bearing fruits, those issues that you want to be addressed. And I think that's not good politics. I think we have seen in other countries where, like in America, even if you didn't like Trump when he was elected, the Democrats allowed him to deliver. And where he required bipartisan support, they gave him. Here, bipartisan support is lacking. In parliament, if the opposition tries even to come to work with the government, the party leaders, they whip those members who want to work with government. Yet these people who are elected by as the MP has said, they have the full mandate to represent the people. Therefore, it's premature for us to start engaging in demonstrations, yet the people 6 months ago gave us the mandate, or 8 months ago gave us the mandate to go and do this and this and this. Well, let us allow the process of legislation, representation, and all that to mature. Then we can see the fruit, and then we can determine that the people we elected have failed us, and therefore we need to go to the streets.
All right. Honorable Mbithi, from what your opening statement, it's more or less like Azimio did not achieve their goals, right, in the maandamanos. And looking at what happened and what the DP said about the economy, I'm quite sure they would count that as a plus because of polarizing the CBD and, of course, the 2 billion, they would say that they would count that as one of their successes.
If the opposition counts that as a success, the loss of 2 billion yesterday, then they are not with the people. They are not Kenyans. That's what I say. They are not with the Kenyans. Because any Kenyans of any goodwill will fight for this country to stand on its feet, because now we are on our knees. And any loss is a minus for our economy. So to me, it's not a success. It's a demonstration in bad faith. It's a destruction of the economy. And anybody who is trying to destroy the economy of Kenya, then it is not with the people. Even if the people gave you the votes that they gave you, we cannot revive the economy, and we cannot have the food on our table, and the food cannot be cheap by losing 2 billion per day. In fact, the food will be more expensive now, because whoever lost the 2 billion yesterday will want to compensate by taking the prices of his commodities a bit high today, because yesterday is lost. And every week that they are saying that they will be going to the streets and we lose the same money, things will still go up and they will never come down. The other thing is, this government, as engineers say, it's only 6 months old. Even if the opposition won, which magic could have turned around this economy for 6 months? What are you selling? Are you selling gold? Because if it is gold, yes. But if it is the same economy, the same people that pays the taxes, the same ones, because the president now is trying to bring up everybody who does not pay taxes to pay. All right? The informal sector, the formal sector, everybody to pay tax, the mama boga to pay something, so that all of us, we try to bring the economy together. But if we are trying and somebody else is pulling us behind, then that is the enemy of Kenya. Yes.
And engineer, looking at also on the government post that the president has announced, from the ministers or the CSs to the PSs, now to the CSs, this is also something that has brought a lot of discussion in the Azimio domain. And they have argued that the government is not quite, or the president is not quite involving everyone. They're talking about regional balance. They're talking about some of the two communities having the lion's share of the government position. This is something that is not sitting well with Azimio. But unlike the electoral reforms, where the laws now more or less have been cast in stone, this is something that the head of state can do.
Well, you see, one thing that every government that comes, it has its own doctrine. The Uhuru Kenyatta government was about bringing all Kenyans together, whether they are loyal to him or not. They were part of his government. The doctrine of William Ruto is that you must be loyal first to serve in his government. Then, if you are not loyal to his government, you are loyal to the opposition, so you serve the opposition. So that we have an independent opposition that does its work, and a government which does its work of executing. So if your loyalty is to the government, then you can work for William Ruto as a minister, as a PS, as a CS. But if your loyalty is to Azimio, then you work for the opposition. So what we need to hear from the opposition is saying, if the government has failed to do the following, if we were in government, we would have done the following. Or the government should pursue this path. As far as electoral reforms are concerned, as far as food, alleviating the issue of food crisis in the country, as far as addressing the economy, we need to hear them say these are the options that we would table as an opposition. But not saying this is wrong, this is bad, we are going to protest, but not offering a solution. Because an opposition is supposed to offer solution, alternative. They're supposed to be the alternative. If today this government failed the next alternative is the opposition. Then what would they offer? We have not heard them say how they'll address the issue of the foreign currency, how they'll address the issue of high cost of fuel. Then they're just saying these people have failed and leave. You understand? So we need an opposition that is clear in terms of its doctrine. What do they stand for? If William Ruto stands on employing people who are loyal to him, then that is his currency. And he should be allowed to do that. That is his government. If all the loyal people come from 20 tribes, then that's it. If you are not loyal to him, you cannot work for him. And that's what he has said. And we must respect that. That is a man who went to an election. He won it. He was sworn in. There was a Supreme Court decision that affirmed his win. Let us respect that. You cannot force yourself to a marriage where you are not loyal to.
Yes, Mheshimiwa,
yes, please.
The Bible says two cannot work together unless they agree. So what the president is doing, these are the people that are reading from the same script, and that's why he is able to employ them, so that he has an easy way of doing what he wants to do with this manifesto, and also the revival of the economy. You cannot bring somebody there who will keep on pulling you down while you are going forward, is going towards the other direction.
Yes,
so I support the president.
But Mheshimiwa, somebody would argue that the president doesn't need to bring in guys from opposition. But in as much as he's loyalist, he should also look at the gender balance, he should look at the regional balance, he should look at some of the issues that Azimio have raised.
Yes, but the gender balance is well taken off. 16 ladies versus how many men?
But if you looked at the charter that he signed with the women last year, somebody would say that this is the short end of the stick. We didn't actually give us what we wanted. And also the question of the regional balance in terms of how these positions are being shared. In as much as he's not sharing with the opposition, any Kenyan would say and would want to see a cabinet, would like to see CASs, would like to see PSs who represent the face of the country. Mheshimiwa.
I have seen he has tried.
He has tried.
As much as actually he is better than anybody else. He is better than any other president who has ever given the slots, right? So he has tried to balance, and it is only that people are never satisfied. Whatever you do to a man, he will still complain, and that is the nature of man, right? So to me, the president has tried. Even the people that never voted for him. Look at Ukambani, for example, the Lower Eastern. We never voted for him. We gave him 30%. We have 2 CS. We have 3 PSs. We have 2 CS. And we have other people that have been put in big positions of CEOs, chairmans, and we are still being given even now. So to me, a man will never be satisfied. Whatever you do, even your neighbor, you try to do good to your neighbor, the next day you do bad to you.
I think the other thing I want to add, before the opposition throws stones at the UDA administration, are we seeing Gachagwa's son or Ruto's son and daughter at the East African Legislative Assembly before we start accusing them of unfairness?
Yes.
At the ELA, are we seeing any UDA MP who is affiliated to the top leadership of UDA? Before we start accusing them of not being regional balanced. So I think there are people who are, when you come to accuse me, you must come with clean hands. And the opposition does not have clean hands. Yes. There are certain economic interests that are being protected by the opposition at the expense of common mwananchi. And yet William Ruto has clearly said, we must dismantle this economic interest to empower our people. So is the opposition very clean when they come to say we are fighting for the economic well-being of this country? Well, those interests are behind their demonstrations and economic sabotage. Yet, the government of the day is trying to dismantle these economic interests to make it easier for Kenyans to access food and livelihoods.
And talking about food and livelihood, every time Kenya has issues, of course, it affects the region. And if at all the Azimio Brigade are going ahead with their threat of every Monday, then we will have a very polarized East Africa community. When Kenya sneezes, the whole region catches a cold.
But you need to understand one thing. Since 2007, the rest of the region has learned to prepare for themselves in case Kenya fails. Okay? Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, and Burundi, and Congo have learned to prepare themselves. In case Kenya fails, what do we do? So they already have an option. And that's why you find those economies are doing so well right now as opposed to us who have just come from an election. Uganda was locked down for 2 years during COVID. They had an election during COVID. But today, their foreign reserves are good. They are food secure. They are exporting more to Kenya than they used to export before. They are importing less from us. They are using other routes to deliver goods to their country, meaning their economies have grown out of the dependency on Kenya as a regional economic hub. So if we continue with this economic sabotage, we may not come out stronger to these other economies. We may come out behind countries like Ethiopia, Uganda, Tanzania put together because they have found alternatives. They have found routes. They have found ways to make a living without depending on Kenya. So those who want to build Kenya as an economic regional hub in the opposition, they better tell their leaders to stop. It is their sons and daughters who are in the ELA, not your common representative. So them, they are secure. I think if out of this economic sabotage that is happening, the next salary delay should be with the members of parliament who are championing for this.
That's a good way of looking at it.
They should be punished. Their salaries should be late.
All right, we're taking a quick break. We'll be right back. But I like the idea that the East Africa region has now seen exactly what happens in Kenya after elections, and they have now been able to fortify their economy so that in case something happens to Kenya or something happens in Kenya, they have a solid economy behind them. Let's take a quick break, then we come and wrap it up. Yeah, that's a good thing.
Subsidies for middle class.
Welcome back. This is News Check, and we are looking at the state of the nation and, of course, the state of demonstrations, because that is something that has been on everyone's lips. And yesterday, it polarized a lot of activities, not only here in Nairobi, but also in other counties as well. And I'm joined by Honorable Joshua Mbithi, who is the MP for Masinga, and also Engineer Crispus Wathimba, who is a governance and leadership expert. And gentlemen, before we went for that break, or when we were having the break, it's a good thing that we have pointed out that indeed that is economic sabotage. And I would like us to look at the bigger picture, because not only were the demonstrations here, they were also in other countries like Tunisia. They have their issues as well. Nigeria has their issues. South Africa, the same thing. Mheshimiwa, what are some of the lessons that we can be able to pick up from whatever exactly is happening and in demonstrations? In Kenya, we can say maybe one may argue that we have never achieved anything through Mandamano, but you remember the repealing of Section 2A of the Constitution to allow more than one party or multipartyism in Kenya was because of Mandamano.
Yes, it is true. We reviewed the Section 2A that time because it was a one single party rule. And it was very difficult to continue with one party rule, KANU. And that time we achieved. But now you see, with the times, things change. These are very hard times. Those times, things were not as hard as they are now. So we need to go back to the drawing board and find out, does it still work? Does Maandamano still help us to achieve anything? If it doesn't, then why don't we change our strategy and go in a different direction? Because from the time memorial, you can remember, this Maandamano has helped only a few people. It doesn't help everybody. Yeah? If you look at the nusu mukate, right? It brought the peace that we most needed in 2007. But what did it achieve? How many people did it help? If you look at the handshake, how it brought peace, yes. But who benefited? So now, on this one, we can go back and say, surely, where are we heading? The economy is so low, livelihood is a danger. Children's now, those who are at home after midtime are more than those who have gone back to school, because there is no money to take them back to school. And the teacher said, do not come without the full balance. Okay? I'm talking of my constituency. There's a lot of problem in this country. So the Maandamano has come in the wrong time. When the country is bleeding, the country economy is in the knees, we are looking for solutions. The president is thinking on how he can help this economy. He has not even come out with the budget. The cycle of the budget now is what we are doing now until June. His first budget, what he was using is the 2022-2023 budget, which was not his.
All right.
So to me, we are not achieving by Maandamano. We are actually punishing our people.
All right. Engineer, what is the end game, or what should Azimio do? Because talking about Maandamanos every Mondays, I'm quite sure this is going to be an ugly scene, and it can never be a good thing for our ailing economy, which is, as you said, we are on our knees.
I think one thing is that there is nothing that is going to come out that is good if we continue with this Maandamano. Because clearly what these Maandamanos are doing is frustrating the engines of this economy and the ability of this economy to come out from the current challenges. So that's very clear. Given what we saw yesterday, if this is what will happen every Monday, then we have a serious problem ahead of us. So I'm hoping that the government also will find other ways of tackling this issue. It may not be directly talking to the opposition and all that, but they must be very creative in other ways of addressing and bringing down these temperatures that are affecting this economy. But I also want to just discuss, I think 1992, I was probably 12 years old, and Dr. William Ruto was probably 23 years of age, and Raila was probably 45 years of age when he led the real serious Maandamano. And 30 years later, or 31 years later, William Ruto is president, and still the Maandamanos of today are led by Raila Amolo Odinga. I think we have a problem in terms of maturing our democracy as far as the opposition is concerned. We have remained the same in the opposition, led by one person. While in the other side of the executive, we have had 4 presidents, but not changes in the opposition. I think there is a problem in the structure and character of our opposition. We need new blood in that opposition, so that the opposition can be able to exercise its real mandate of checking and providing an alternative government when required to. Because we can't have the same faces opposing all the time, and not they will never give us different solutions. Yes.
All right, Mheshimiwa, I would like you to wrap it up. What is the end game, or what exactly should both sides do? Because at the end of the day, we just cannot talk about the Azimio side alone. Even the clergy have come out to urge the president to also engage with the opposition. I can see some of the Kenyans, as you prepare, Mheshimiwa, some Kenyans are pretending not to be suffering by blaming the protesters. Let the truth be told, hali ya maisha si nzuri. That is one from Mike Njue, who is watching us. I say somebody is saying that it was a one community protest for their Baba to get a handshake. Okay, they are talking about the handshake, but what could be the end game?
As far as I'm concerned, the end game is to talk, to have a dialogue. Because if the two leaders takes the handstand, then whoever is suffering is the common mwananchi. So the solution is to come on the table and come out with a mechanism to end the maandamano, because it's going to finish us. And I also want to pray that the leaders of opposition are people of means. They are the leaders that we have ever seen since we were young, and the same leaders. They should also try to change their tactics and give a dialogue a chance, and give peace to the present president, so that we can see if they gave him 3 years and he is not doing well, then they can start picketing. But now 6 months, even when you marry a woman, 6 months there is no baby. Right? So it is too early. It is too early to start judging. Food has not come down. There is no money. There is no this. Everything is up. It is too early. Give him time. And then you can come and say, put your checks after 3 years. Say, this one he has done. This one he has not done. Let's ask him how he wants to fulfill what he has not done.
All right.
So for me, yes, the way forward is to stop maandamano.
All right. In 10 seconds, it's something that we were discussing earlier on. Of course, the skies have opened up, and your constituency being also one of the counties and constituencies that has been worst hit by drought. Maybe some of the mitigation measures that you have undertaken in 30 seconds?
There is a lot of famine in my constituency, Masinga constituency. And what has been happening is that there have been some bodies that have been bringing food. And also the leaders have been bringing food. The governor has been distributing food. The women rep has been distributing food. We have been able to talk to the government. They gave us some food some times back. But now, as the rain now starts raining, like yesterday, it rains a lot. I would like to urge our people to put on to the soil the food that is able to germinate quickly and be able to save our situation. Because as the situation goes, there is no enough food for donation, which can be able to feed even Kenya.
All right. Indeed, gentlemen, thank you so much for actually making time and for your insight. Engineer Crispus Wathimba, who is a governance and leadership expert, and we had Honorable Joshua.
Just allow me to just add one point. I just want to say, as much as there's going to be dialogue, we pray that that dialogue will be about championing the interests of the majority of Kenyans and not about the economic interests of a few. Mama Mboga and everyone else who represents Mama Mboga and the likes should be the conversation in that dialogue. So William Ruto, as far as he may want to have a dialogue with these people, he should protect and champion the interests of the common mwananchi in that dialogue, not the interest of a few businessmen or politicians who are hell-bent on having the status quo remain the same.
Thank you. Engineer Crispus Wathimba and Honorable Joshua Mbithi, who is the MP for Masinga.